Welcome to Not Proprietors. I'm John Dougal. This channel is about living intentionally and about living your best life possible. Today's topic definitely falls into that goal, and it's called Life's Biggest Decisions. Get these decisions right, you're going to have a good life. Get them wrong, and you're going to suffer regret. In preparation for this topic, I've naturally had my own thoughts, but I did a little research as well to see if I could come across somebody else's perspective and get something interesting. And I was fortunate, and I came across some great articles in Psychology Today by Adrian Camilleri. The articles were posted in about roughly the 2021 time frame. And he did his job. He did some great research, and we get the benefit of it. Adrian is a behavioral scientist and associate professor at marketing in the University of Technology, Sydney Business School. And part of what I'm sharing today is combining his thoughts, but with aspects that have already been shown on the channel. But let's go ahead and, for now, just get started, and you'll see how the two are melded. First off, what constitutes a big decision? A decision is a big decision when there is a choice between options and where the consequences of the choice will have significant long-term impact on yourself and on others. Big life decisions are mostly front-loaded in your life. That's unfortunate. Most of these are going to come between the ages of 16 and 35. Life is a bit backwards. We gain wisdom as we age, but the big decisions before we've had a full, rich life to gain all the wisdom that we need to make the good choices. And that's part of the reason why I created this channel, so I could give you a leg up if you listen. Life is hard. It punishes mistakes. But if you take the topics of this channel to heart, you'll have a better shot at the great life that you want. Today's wisdom quote is from Mark Twain. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. Man, is that ever a true saying? You think you have enough information, you think you know, and you make the decision only to later find out, oh crud, I didn't know as much as I should have. So when we face these big decisions, we should be asking ourselves, do we really know enough to make this decision and to pick the right choice? And it starts off by thinking, well, what can go wrong if we pick the wrong choice? And what outcome should I expect if I do pick the right choice? Well, this table is where I've combined Adrian Camilleri's work with what we've already covered on the channel. I abbreviated his work down to 8 categories listed, just for the sake of not making it too busy. It's important to note that the most important decisions in life relate to family and friends, and that the most important of these 8 categories are self-improvement, family, and education. The order on the table roughly follows the importance of the decisions from top to bottom. And I've inlaid the related psychological needs that pair with each category. As a reminder, these psychological needs are taken from William Glasser's work on reality therapy. And our psychological needs are our physical survival, connecting with others, meaningful relationships where we give and receive care to each other, power, which is our need to achieve and win, freedom, which is our need to feel autonomous, and then just plain old fun, our need to enjoy the pastimes that match our personality. Well, from Adrian's work, family is number 1. Family decisions map to your psychological need for connecting with others. And the types of decisions you'll make under this category of family, you have to assume you're already in a stable long-term relationship. And so the decisions are, should you have children? If so, how many? Do you adopt? Or do you decide to have no children at all? And with the family, you're going to have a spouse, you're going to have children, you're going to have the children's grandparents, your parents, and you'll have siblings. And at some point in time, you'll undoubtedly have to make medical decisions, sometimes for yourself, sometimes for others. And these are always tough choices. In this category of less criticality, but it's important nonetheless, is decisions regarding pets. Do you have pets or not have them? What kinds? And you'll have medical choices for the pets as well, and time to train them and all of that. The category of self-destruction is listed as the second one. That's not going to pertain to all people, but if it does, man, is it important? And it's all about the bad choices. So let's assume the person's made a bad choice. Well, now what do you do? And there are decisions on destructive relationships. The decision when you entered in and the decision I need to get out. And choices on addictions are similar. These can be all kinds of things. It can be food addiction, sex addiction, drug addiction, pornography addiction, all these things. The bad choice is about getting hooked, and then the necessary choice is to get unhooked. Also under this heading is if a person's made a choice of crime, and that has all kinds of lasting consequences. But, if you made the choice, how do you get out? Society can be forgiving if a person really makes the concerted effort to change themselves, but that stigma, that mistake can stick with you your whole life, and that's something somebody's going to have to deal with if they've gone down that road. Number 3 in importance is just relationships in general. And these obviously map to connecting, the psychological need of connecting. This is the one place where I think Mark Twain's advice comes in more often than anywhere else. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. Do you know yourself well enough to know how you're going to interact with others, especially if they've got their quirks? Do you really know this person sitting across from you, or have they been on their best behavior to try to get what they want? What do you know about the opposite sex in general? What do you know about their sin nature and your own sin nature? What do you know about the laws and the land concerning relationships? You make a mistake on this one, man, it can ruin your life. There are all kinds of relationships. There can be decisions in entering into a romantic relationship, entering into a marriage. There's decisions regarding divorce. There's decisions to cheat. There's decisions to what do you do if you've been cheated against? And then there's the purely hedonistic decisions, because some of these relationships, are just about the sex. And have you prioritized that thrill over the consequences? Hopefully with romantic relationships that, they'll head towards permanence, but a lot of times, most often it doesn't. I've forgotten the statistics on this, but what's the average number of romantic relationships a person has before it leads to something permanent? Well, all of those choices to enter in, they have repercussions. Sometimes not so bad, sometimes they are bad. And then you have decisions with friendships. Some of your friends or the bonds aren't as strong, and some of them are lifelong friends. And so how do you decide when to pile in the effort to keep those relationships strong? When do you let somebody drift away? Next on the list of priorities comes self-improvement. It's sort of like the flip side of self-destruction, but I don't see any real downside to these choices. Self-improvement is about power, and it's possibly about connecting. And these are your decisions on, what is your ideology on life? If you have a religious, bent, then it could fall into that. I've made no hiding of the fact that I'm a Christian man, so obviously that one is a big one to me, to have a relationship with Christ. there's also social and intellectual improvement choices. Uh, I just got done rereading, and how many times I've read this book, but it was Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's not in our nature to have social graces. You have to learn them, and then when you learn them, you've got to embrace the value of them. And so, you can do those things and learn about social graces, and you can improve your intellect about society, about people, about your work. There are decisions on your health. There's decisions on pastimes and hobbies, and then the last one, and sort of listed here, is travel. And travel, and I'm talking international travel here. Man, you see cultural differences, and you learn things about yourself. It'll challenge what you value, sort of on your day-to-day routines. And you say, do I really want to be spending time doing this? In a lot of cultures, there's an enormous amount of emphasis put on time with family and time with friends. And you can look at that and say, man, do I really want to spend that much time watching TV? That sort of thing. Okay. And then now on the categories list, we're down to education, relocation, and career. And all three of these usually are something pertain to your vocation. So I'd say that they're all somewhat interrelated. They're all pertaining to power, your need to achieve and win, but they also can be avenues of connecting, because you definitely connect with people, when you're in academia, you're definitely connecting with people on your job. And are these the kind of people that you really want to establish as friends, and that sort of a thing? Education is clearly all about your career direction. Relocation is usually about the job, picking a new one, but it could be also for a move for family reasons. So, what are the questions you should be asking? What do you study? Where do you live? Do you take a new job? Do you quit the one you have? Maybe you're deciding to start a business, or maybe you're deciding to, say, hey, I need to sell it or just quit it. And then obviously at some point in time, there's going to be questions regarding, when do you hang it up? When do you say, hey, this is enough? I want to take my twilight years and focus on different things. I found this next item really interesting, and it's the last item on the list, finances. Many people would put way too much emphasis on money. And it's important because financial decisions do affect your quality of life, including your needs for achieving and winning, for your need for freedom and need to just have fun. And the big decisions are budgeting, planning, buying or renting a house, investing in inheritance, and so forth. But, you put too much emphasis on this, and time isn't infinite, and maybe your relationships suffer, maybe something that's your more important decision categories suffer. And that's sort of the segue to this chart. We need to think about, what has been historically for most people their most common regrets. And the items bulleted on this chart were taken from people on the threshold of death. What regrets did they have? What mistakes did they make? And so, the regrets are, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not what others expected of me. And that's all about knowing who you are and then living intentionally. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That's the one, prioritizing money and achievement, probably over family and relationships. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. And again, that's not being true to yourself. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends instead of letting them drift away. And then, I wish I'd let myself be happier. Happiness really just comes down to a choice, because we can sit there and decide to ruminate on how tough life is and all these things that have gone wrong and all the people that have done me wrong or what have you. But life is a gift, and we should embrace it that way and just decide, hey, today is the day the Lord has made. I'll rejoice and be glad in it. It's helpful to ponder, hey, what made these people regretful? What was it that drove them to the wrong choice? Was it a drive to be conforming with the crowd and to be people pleasers, perhaps? Was it a misallocation of priority on achievement over relationships? Was it not prioritizing the time to spend to keep those friendships alive? Was it the choice of worrying too much? Well, today we've just raised the topic of life's biggest decisions, but we haven't yet covered how do you make those decisions, and we'll do that soon in another video. Please consider liking the video and sharing it with a friend if you think it has value for you, because who knows, maybe it's going to have value for the next person. I enjoy putting these videos together, but I'll be honest with you, I'll enjoy it even more if more people saw them. So, hey, a little effort on your part can do wonders for the channel. Thanks for joining. Cheers.